Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project. Are you ready?
And welcome, friends. This is the Eric McKenna Project, and my very special guest today, Devon Johnson.
How are you?
Rough Creek. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
I keep saying this almost every show, but what's great about this is when I designed this show, Devon, we were talking off camera a bit. Influencers, people in Pittsburgh that are accomplished in their field. And of course, I have this bent toward music because of the guitars, and it was obviously an easier entry point for me to bring guests. But I made a list of Pittsburgh area bands and singers and band members I wanted on here. And you're right there, and with a little help of maybe Danger, Jeremy Mulder from Froggy Radio, you're here today, and I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, it means a lot. And he's also drinking Red Stripe, by the way,
right.
as you can see. Yeah, I mentioned Red Stripe, and Devon said, sure, I'll drink Red Stripe. So that's what we do on the show. We have a little fun. There's so much I want to talk to you about, but first off, how are things, man?
Things are great right now. They're better than they've been in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, things have always been pretty good, but it's great right now.
Yeah. And a little birdie told me that you're getting ready to drop another single here shortly.
We are.
And I heard a little birdie told me that it was either co-written or written by Frank Vieira. Is that correct?
I believe he was just here, was he not?
Yeah, he was.
Yes, he was.
Amazing what a pre-show conversation can
Right,
yield.
Exactly, yeah. He did write the song.
Awesome.
Pardon me. He and I have been collaborating on some stuff lately, and he threw this song at me, and I thought, oh my gosh. I played it for my wife, actually, and she looked at me and she said, you have to record that song. She said, you have to record that song.
That's
so
awesome.
So we recorded it, and it's just kind of taken on a life of its own. I mean, I was just doing it for fun, and now
Really?
we've got a video, and we've got sponsors, we've got people all over the place that are just gravitating to the song. It's
fantastic.
Literally just taking on. It's doing all the work for me. The song is. It's incredible.
Oh, what's the name of the song?
It's called Aluminum Cans.
Aluminum Cans.
Yeah.
Aluminum Cans.
Aluminum Cans.
Is there a release date at any point here?
The 28th of this month.
28th of this month.
Correct.
Aluminum Cans.
Yeah.
Devon Johnson and Rough Creek.
That's right.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
I didn't get an advanced copy, so I'm as curious
it's
as
actually
all
not
of you.
even finished yet.
Wow. Okay.
It should be done this week. They're still doing some cleanup work in the studio on it, and the video is just the production on the video is just finishing up as well this week. So
Okay.
everything's just kind of
It's starting to gel.
It's starting to gel
for the
yeah.
final run here.
Exactly.
Because I mean, the 28th is coming up here, pal.
It is coming up.
It'll be
I
here
know.
before you know it.
I know, but it's a summer song. It's a song that
Timing
needs
is
to be
good.
in the summer. So we had to get it out as quickly as we could. So because it's an anthem song.
How did you and Frank connect on that? Because I mean, I just had Frank in Super Guy. Good story as well.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Tragedy brought us together.
Okay.
So when the Tree of Life shootings happened, the Mike from the Stickers, Joe from the
Joe, that's okay. I love live broadcasts.
Yeah, right. The guys from the Stickers got together, and they got. I don't know if you remember a few months ago they put together that Stand Together.
I sure do.
And they got a lot of really great guys
Stand Together Pittsburgh, is that what it was? Or Stand Together?
Stand Together, yeah. And they had Chris Jameson, who was on The Voice, and I'm forgetting everybody. There were so many people involved, but there were a lot of great people involved in it, and I met so many people. You know what I mean? I'd always kind of like worked in the same circles as these guys, but I never actually got to hang out with a lot of these people, right? We spent a lot of time in the studio.
Okay.
And then we did the parade, and we did this stuff, and I made all of these really great connections and all these really good friendships.
Right.
And I had always known Frank, and we'd kind of, passed here and there, but I got to know him during that project. So, we just kind of got to, hanging out and saying, hey, let's get together and write, and let's do some stuff, and it just kind of all came from that. And I made so many nice connections out of that, which is, I've kind of struggled with that a little bit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because all of this great stuff is happening for me because of the relationships I made. It is a blessing.
Yeah.
It is a blessing. And I swore that if this all worked out and something really great happened because of this, I'm going to give it back somehow. I'm going to, we're going to put on a big benefit concert.
I think that's great.
Something that's
I think that's great.
Because I feel like, it's kind of it
Yeah.
works in strange ways.
It does.
really
It does
works
work in strange ways.
Yeah,
It does work, and Frank's a super guy.
He
we
is
were
a
talking
super
off camera
guy.
too.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
one heck of a songwriter too. I mean, he's
really good
just comes to him.
and he's getting better. Everything he gives me is a little bit better than the last thing he gave me. And I'm impressed with him. And
So
I've worked with some really great songwriters.
yeah.
I wrote our first album. I did a lot with Dave Pahanish, who everybody knows he's got 3 #1 songs.
No doubt.
So
no question.
Frank, I put Frank right up there. I really would put him right up there. Yeah.
That's a hell of an accolade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he comes across as being extremely genuine, very humble, and I have to tell you, in my years of just being around musicians, in the country genre, that's pretty. I hate stereotypes, but in the country arena of music, that's pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
A little more than other arenas of music,
Yeah, right.
But it just comes across that real genuine guy,
really
much
is.
like yourself.
He
much
really
like
is.
yourself,
Thank
my
you. I
friend.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
The thing about Frank is I wanted to, I was kind of wanting to help him out because I thought he was such a great songwriter, and I thought I might be able to help him get
Sure.
some of his songs out to people who what I mean, where he could
Right.
really make some money off of his
Right,
songs,
right.
And here he is helping me out. So it's
the
really
way-
it's
the
funny
way it
how that
goes,
works out, man.
That's the way it goes.
So
and I want to definitely put this on record too. It's been so long. I've seen 2 Rough Creek shows, and we talked briefly. I mean, I don't bother artists during, because I've seen what happens
Right,
when between sets. I get it, but we did mingle a little bit then. But at the last time we actually sat down at a table, you will laugh at this, but I believe it was 2009 or 2008 maybe.
Okay.
Where you and I were judging the Froggy Idol competition.
Oh my goodness, I do remember. Oh yeah, that was an interesting time.
Yes,
Yeah.
and of course I was telling Abby, because Abby and I had done that as well, and they would come down the hallway when they needed an extra guest. They'd pop me in there, and of course I never said no.
Right.
But they would make me the bad judge, and then you guys always got because you guys were the celebrities. We were the good. You were so kind that day.
We have to keep a what I mean,
Neutral
Right,
stance.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember that day. You were very diplomatic,
Yeah.
and I told this one woman that it felt like someone was stabbing my ears with an ice pick. Yeah, Danger reminded me of that this
Now that
morning.
you say that, I totally remember that now, yeah.
It was being stabbed in the ear with an ice pick. Her singing was so bad, but I was, of course, just kidding. But what I'm really fascinated to talk to you today, because I don't know the details of your story, but I really, if you're willing, I'd like to go back and how did it all start for you? Where did that passion for music start? Was it something that happened in grade school? Was it family related?
It was before that.
Really?
I don't even. So neither one of my parents were musical at all, but they were music fans. I mean, they just loved. My dad had the biggest record collection you've ever seen in your life.
Okay.
I mean, he literally had everything, and I mean eclectic. There was everything from country to southern rock to Motown and my mom was a big Motown fan, so
They just loved music in general.
they just loved music
Good
in
music,
general.
good music.
Exactly. So that's the way I grew up.
Okay.
People always ask me all the time, like, what's your favorite kind of music? And I sing country because that's kind of what my voice is kind of, I sing that well.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But that's not really I wouldn't say I have a favorite kind of music. I like so many. If it's good music, I like it. When people ask me, what's your favorite kind of music? Good music. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's country. I don't care if it's Motown. I don't care if it's rock.
Right.
I'm even an old-time metalhead.
Yeah.
If it's good music,
Look around the room, buddy.
I like it. Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, it's funny because the concerts that we've gone to in the past year, it's unbelievable. We've gone to see everybody from Paul Simon to Metallica. You know what I mean? It's just
It's eclectic.
It's very eclectic, but I love it all. And that's because of my parents.
Okay.
My parents had this stereo that looked like a piece of furniture. I know you guys remember what I'm talking about.
I have one of those in my basement.
Right? We still have it too. It's in our basement too, right? And they literally had my playpen set up in front of this thing, right?
Okay.
And my dad always had music playing. Always. If we were home, there was music on because TV
All right.
really wasn't
Nah.
that big of a deal then.
Not at all.
So for us, it was music. So I mean, that was the first thing in my head every day, all day. It was music. My mom still tells me that the first thing that came out of my mouth was a song, not words.
So you really you didn't have any choice. You were just surrounded.
I had no
you
choice.
were surrounded by
I literally had no choice.
You were surrounded by
and
it.
I'm glad though.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. And then I would sing all the time for anybody, anytime. I would sing at the grocery store with my mom. I was just always singing. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
And so my mom started to get me involved in some things. I would sing for, little events. She would try to get me involved in this. Or
Okay.
My sister had she danced for a local dance club or whatever, and they would bring me on stage and have me sing some songs for the dancers,
Okay.
and just anything that they could get me. They really were pushing. I was even on a TV show when I was 12.
Okay.
They did some kind of TV singing contest and I was
Do you remember that pretty well?
I do, but I do. I remember I lost. I remember I lost, and I lost to this girl singing.
I guess he does remember.
Yeah, right. I lost to this girl singing "The Rose," and
Oh, the Bette Midler's Rose?
yeah.
Okay.
And now that song always bothers me. It's such a pretty song, but it
I
always
wonder
bothers
why.
me. But I was 12, and I still, it was still fun, and I was on TV, and I was kind of a little bit of a local celebrity for a little while, and then I kind of fell out of it a little bit because in high school,
when you were a teenager or high school?
when I was in high school,
Okay.
I started to, I started to listen to a little bit heavier stuff, and I couldn't sing that. That just is not, So I was always in like garage bands and stuff, but I would just sit in the back and play rhythm guitar.
Okay.
And then but I would always in the back of my head, I was, the singing, you know what I mean? It was there, and I needed to find a different avenue for it.
Because it's an expression.
It is.
Right? It's something that's in you.
Right. And I just couldn't sing that stuff I was listening to. And a funny thing
What
happened.
was it? Give me an example. Give me some examples. What was it? Do you remember?
Music that I listened to?
Yeah. Well, no, you were playing in that band that wasn't, you're looking at it. That's musically, I can't get that.
We played stuff like Metallica
Okay.
and some Iron Maiden.
Okay.
I'm actually going to see them when they come
Yeah,
to town.
yeah, Bruce Dickinson's a difficult
Bruce.
singer to emulate.
But he's a great singer.
No
and
question.
those were the bands I gravitated to, were the ones
They were actually singing, too.
very much. And like Queensryche is one of my favorite bands, and Jeff Tate. Oh my goodness, you know what I mean? Those guys, those kind of singers were really. But I can't sing like that. I mean, who can?
Sure.
Really?
Those are creme de la creme there.
Exactly. But there was always that drive in me that something inside me wanted to sing. And I didn't want to just sit back and play guitar. I wanted to sing. So a funny thing happened. We were on a field trip when I was in high school to New York City.
Okay.
And a friend of mine had given me a cassette tape. That's showing my age on that. She gave me a cassette tape to listen to on the way to and it's a long drive. It's a long bus drive up to New York City.
Absolutely.
So I listened to this same tape over and over and over again, and it was Garth Brooks, right? And this was when he was really kind of starting to get really big.
Like early 90s?
Yeah, it would have been early 90s.
Okay.
Early 90s.
Okay.
And I'm listening to that, and I thought, this isn't the country that I remember my grandfather playing. You know what I mean? I thought
Not at all,
right? And I
Right,
thought
right.
I can sing this.
Okay.
I can sing this.
Okay.
So I bought everything that he did, and I started to look at different artists that were similar to him. George Strait and Randy Travis and guys that
okay. But he was kind of like his own animal,
he
too.
was
wasn't
totally his own animal,
Yeah.
and he was my favorite because he was doing things different. He was changing the scene, and he was changing it to a scene that I felt I could get into. You know what I mean? Because
just vocally or the whole thing? Because to me, he was
thing.
like country Kiss.
The whole thing,
concert wise.
The shows,
explosions were like
incredible,
over the top,
incredible. It was all of it. It was definitely all of it.
Got it.
So I started to sing that a little bit, and I thought I could do this. I could sing this. And when I was in college, a girlfriend that I had at the time, she saw a contest they were having down in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry Theater. And she said, "Why don't you enter in this?" I said, "All right." So I auditioned, and they said, "Yeah, come on down, be in this contest. There was like 400 people in this contest. I was completely overwhelmed because I hadn't sang in front of anybody in years.
Okay.
So this was my first time, and I finished 26th or something like that. You know what I mean? Which I was happy with because there were so many people involved.
That's respectful.
Yeah. So I certainly didn't win, but I felt like, hey, this is all right. I can,
Was it a confidence builder for you?
It did. It was a confidence builder. And to stand on that stage, you know what I mean? That historic stage was just like, it was incredible. And I had all these people came down. All my friends and family came down. Like there's like 20 people went down to Nashville with me to do this. And while we were down there, my aunt, she said to me, she said, if I booked you at a local bar at home, do you think you could come up with a set for the night? And I said, I'll damn well try, and
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, and so we booked it, and I rented a PA. I had no equipment. I had nothing.
Really?
Yeah, I had nothing.
Okay.
I had a guitar. That's it. I had an acoustic guitar. That's all I had. And so we went out and rented all this equipment, and we advertised it, and literally my entire town showed up. There was so many people in this bar that it was uncomfortable, and it was a very small place, but it was awesome. I actually had to, by the end of the night, I had to sing a lot of songs over again because I was running out of songs and everybody just wanted to keep going. So the bar owner came up to me and he said, yeah, you want to do this again? And I was like, well, yeah, I'll do this again, And I started playing there like once a month.
Right.
And then some of the other bars around the area, they're like, hey, you want to come to my place and do it?
Sure.
And then next thing you knew, I was playing every weekend. And I was doing it by myself, and I thought, all right, this is cool, but I'm only going to go so far like this.
Okay.
Right. So I started to
as a solo artist.
As a solo, right? I thought I need to build a band. I need to have a band. If I want to play these bigger venues, places that I want to play, I need to have a band. So I started just kind of I grabbed anybody who would play with me. You know what I mean? I couldn't be picky at that point. I wanted anybody who would play with me.
Sure.
So I put together, and it was a pretty good group. That first group that I put together. And we started doing gigs, and it just
mainly covers at that time, right?
Oh yeah. But we worked. We always kind of worked on originals. We always had a couple in there. You know what I mean? But
was that always tough? Because I never played in. I did a lot of charity gigs. I would play and so forth. But to be in a band that plays covers, but also is writing material, I never got to feel that juice of writing something out that came from me or a collective group of players. And I always wondered what that was like when you try to introduce that or mix a new tune into a set. Is there apprehension? You're wondering how it will quote unquote go over?
Yes.
What is that like?
That's actually the biggest hurdle. Because when people come out to see a band, they wanna hear songs they know. You know what I mean? They're out drinking. They want to hear songs.
For any band, though, regardless of how big or small.
Exactly. They want to. Like, even when you go see somebody that you really know, you know what I mean? They're there for their new album, right? A lot of times they'll play songs off their new stuff, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, that's cool. Now I'll play something I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Happens
like
to the Stones.
It
all
does.
those
It
big
happens
bands.
to everybody.
Yeah,
It happens to everybody.
As everybody goes and gets their beer.
Right. Exactly. Right. So you can imagine what that's like for a local band trying to push their own stuff.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right,
so it's
right.
got to be good, or
Right.
just to even.
No question. Yeah,
And-
you have to deliver there.
So I always tried to strategically place it in the set list where I thought, you know what I mean, because you definitely don't want to do a whole bunch of them in a row because you will lose half the people.
Got it.
No matter how good it is, because they just don't know it. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. People want to hear what they know. So that was always a struggle. That's always been a struggle for me.
It's easier as it goes on. Once you got your sea legs and your career got more established,
Sure.
and you had your hits and your local popular songs, I'd imagine it would get a little easier.
Sure, it does, and then eventually people will start asking for those songs, and then you're like, okay, all right, we can play.
Yeah.
This is
And that's
this
got
is
to be
working.
ultimately very rewarding
Oh,
too. That's the juice.
That's the best part of it, and.
So this is all happening in the late '90s. Now you're forming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure I understand the timeline.
I was still in
that's all.
college.
Okay.
And and that's what I did for my college job.
Okay.
Was I played music on the weekends.
Wow.
You know. So
Okay.
I would drive home. I went to school in Erie, so I would literally, as soon as class was over on Friday, I would get in a car and drive home. I would play a gig Friday night. I would play a gig Saturday night. I would drive back on Sunday.
Okay.
And I literally did that for the last 2 years of my college career.
Yeah, what a great summer job. What a great college job.
Exactly. You know what I mean? I didn't have to work during the week. I didn't have to, because before that, I was like waiting tables, doing whatever I could for extra money. And this was awesome. I was making more money on the weekend playing music than I would work all week waiting tables. Great. So I was like, well, this is great. And then I could just come back and relax for the week, concentrate on school. Not that I really did that all that well, but
did you graduate?
I did graduate.
Okay, well, salute to you.
Yeah,
from someone who didn't.
There you go. I graduated with a degree in history, which didn't get me anywhere. So.
Oh, yeah, that's one of those. Because were you thinking you were going to be a teacher?
Well, at first, and then I thought to myself, "Oh my goodness, there's no way I could do this. I would not be a good teacher to young kids. Like
you want to strangle them."
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I was just like, because they don't want to, especially a history teacher. They don't want to listen to what you're teaching them.
Yeah. You remember your days, right?
Right. Exactly. So I decided to do something else. I actually went back to school and got an engineering degree, and now I work for an engineering firm. Is what I do.
Okay.
As a regular job, but obviously, if I could, I would have just done music. But as any working musician knows, you can't raise a family.
We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah. So I've always worked, but I've always kept my band schedule right now. Between my acoustic shows and
I just took a little peek at the itinerary before the show here. Wow.
Yeah, we're extremely busy. We're as busy as I've been in years, and we're turning down places. Because I just don't have any dates to give places.
Wow,
and
that's
it's
fantastic.
Great. Yeah, it is fantastic.
That's fantastic. All right, so you put this band together because you decided that you enjoy singing and you enjoy playing as a solo artist, but you can't take it to the next level.
Sure.
And you're probably limited in material.
Right.
Because you need a band, right? So you put this first collection of guys and gals, I'm guessing, are guys together?
All guys, the first group. We've had some girls here and there. But
so they're your first group. And now, what did you call yourself?
Well, so the place where we would rehearse was in Jefferson, PA.
Okay.
And I would literally come home from college, and I would drive straight to rehearsal. I would get off of the Rough Creek exit and go to Jefferson. And I remember we were trying to think of a name for the band, and I kept passing this Rough Creek sign, and it was spelled, RUFF. And I thought to myself, sounds like a country band, right?
It does.
So I literally walked into rehearsal and I said, what if we go with Devon Allen Johnson and Rough Creek Band? And they were like, all right, that works for us. So we just ran with it. And then over the years, it kind of just became Rough Creek, because it was easier.
Right.
And it's literally been, that was 97 was when we played our very first show. 97.
22 years ago.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
And it came off of basically an interstate sign. Interstate sign.
Interstate sign. It did. It literally did. Every time, and even to this day, when I drive past that sign, I look at it and I go, "Wow."
Yeah, well, I actually before we met on that Froggy Idol show many years ago, maybe a decade and a year ago, 11 years ago, I had met Danger out to see one of your shows, and it was impressive. And I said to myself, I go, Rough Creek. It's a cool name, spelled a little differently. That's kind of a hook. I'm thinking to myself, and all while you're performing that night, I'm trying to think where it was. I don't know. Don't laugh at me. I want to say it was when the place used to be called RPMs. Mm-hmm. And before it became
RPMs 31 now.
Yeah, the Kenny Reggett bought it. I guess, but before that, I guess it was RPMs.
It was RPMs.
Because I played some charity gigs there, and I remember watching you, and you guys were. It was pretty impressive. I went to Danger, and I said, "Rough Creek is." He goes, "Where is that from, Eric?
Yeah.
Where do you remember that?" I go, Washington 79 something. He's like, keep going. Like Greene County is right about there. There's an exit. I said, that's it.
Yep.
I wasn't aware of the town, but I'd driven past that sign.
The town
so many times.
Yeah, but the town is like literally you blink. If you're driving through and you blink, you're through it. It's such a small little town, and
it's a cool name though.
Yeah,
that's a very cool name. So so there was no epiphany. You just decided, hey, I think this works. It's country, got a country vibe to it.
Very simple thing. Yep.
Boom and gone.
Yep.
And you guys, so your first, when you decided to put your first album out, your first recording, was it around there? Was it the early 2000s?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it was called Trainwreck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not very good.
You're never going to humiliate you like that, my friends.
It was not very good.
And why not?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a very honest and self-critical statement. I'm just asking.
It was very green. You know what I mean? There was some good songs on it, I think. We were.
Where's the word he's looking for?
It just sounded, like an amateur bunch of guys recording an album.
It was your first recording, yeah.
Right. I mean, it just really had that sound, know, and.
But you guys are more of a live act. 'Cause
we've always been.
Yeah, that's it. You're described as
been.
a live act.
Yes.
Not that No Regrets is not great. It is. It's just you have to. People need to see you guys perform.
That's right, and that's kind of what everybody, and that's what I've heard. If there was any criticism that I've heard over the years, it's that we haven't been able to capture that live energy and sound.
It's so hard though. How many bands can't do that?
I know, and but I'm actually really excited about this new single because I kind of feel like it
has the energy.
Yeah, I kind of I even had a good friend of mine who works for the band. He said I like the stuff you've recorded over the years, but I've always thought that it just didn't sound like you. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm used to seeing you live. And,
sure.
And the studio stuff just never quite sounded like you. He said, this sounds like you. You know what I mean? It's like it sounds like you finally captured what you do on stage on this recording. And I was like, thank you. That's
aluminum cans.
Aluminum cans.
That's going to drop on 28th.
28th, yeah.
Take me back to how you write music, and has it changed over time? When you started to write in the very beginning, you're starting to write your originals, I'm guessing late 90s, right? Mm-hmm. The reason I ask that question is every artist I've talked to seems to have a different formula. There are some very accomplished artists I've had conversations with over the years who talk about following a schedule. I'm going to write today. They sit down and they force themselves by 4 p.m. to have so much done.
Sure.
They force themselves.
Right.
Almost like forced creativity, which doesn't sound congruent.
Yeah.
But I guess it works for them. I don't know. Or how do you do it?
I'll be honest with you. I've struggled with songwriting over the years because I get frustrated with it. You know what I mean? Like I've not been a very good writer on my own.
Okay.
Because I'll get so far and then I'll get frustrated and I'll quit and I'll leave it alone. I probably have 100 half-written songs because I didn't like it and I quit.
Couldn't finish it.
So I found that if I would work with other songwriters, they would help kind of get me past those blocks, And so that was almost right off the bat. I decided that I was going to work. Like, I don't need all of the credit for writing a song. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be a part of a good song. I don't care if there's 5 people on it. I want to be a part of a good song. I don't want to just write anything just to write it. So I would write with anybody who I felt I could write with. So it really early in the game, I wrote with a guy who was pretty good at writing lyrics. You know what I mean? So he would kind of write some lyrics for me, and then I would take his lyrics and I would kind of come up with a melody that would fit the lyrics, and then I would kind of chop up his lyrics to kind of fit with what I wanted to play. So that's kind of how I started. He literally would just give me, stacks of songs. He just would write all day long and give them to me, and so that's kind of how I started. The first album is all of that. Mm-hmm. That he wrote like all of those lyrics, and I sat down and put music to all of them, and kind of maybe
what's
tweak the
what's
lyrics.
Easier for you? Coming up with lyrical content or putting music around
Putting
lyrical
music
content?
around it.
Really?
Yeah. Some guys like Frank, Dave, they just know how to put that twist on the words and the
Like a
I'm so
wordsmith
envious
thing or
of.
something.
Exactly.
Wordsmith.
Just so envious of that, the way those guys do that. I've never been real good at doing that. Here and there I've been able to do it, but for the most part, I've kind of leaned on these other guys who are better writers than me.
Okay.
And I wish I wish I was a better songwriter. I really do. I wish I was a better songwriter because I love it. Because creating a song from the beginning, from nothing, I think is one of the most amazing things about being in the music business. You're like watching this thing kind of just like aluminum cans. Frank, he kind of sent me a real rough acoustic version of him singing it. That he recorded on his iPhone.
Okay.
And I thought, and going into the studio and just building it and watching this thing evolve and grow into this huge. Now there's a song and there's a video and there's all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, that to me is what it's all about. You're making something. You're making something that's never existed before. You're creating it. And Frank has kind of relit the fire for those creative juices for me, because I dropped off of the writing for a long time. And
why?
There was a part of me that reserved myself to the fact that I was just gonna do some live shows and ride this thing as long as I could.
Where'd that come from? Was it just a period of I think we all plateau in our life at certain periods of time. Was it driven by frustration? Was it driven by the change in the industry?
Honestly,
life changes.
Life changes, I think, was more than anything, and I felt like maybe I was getting a little bit past the point in my career when I could, where that was,
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of felt like I missed my window.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I thought, well, I still have a chance to make some. I can still play a lot of gigs, and I can still make some money at this, and
you love it,
and I love it, right? So what better way to make money than doing something you love, right? So
amen.
Right. So I figured, well, I'll ride it. I'll just ride it out, and I'll keep doing it as long as somebody will keep having me do it.
Sure.
And then this whole thing happened so organically. I did not go looking for it. It kind of landed in my lap.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, right. And I thought to myself, well, and not just, and my wife, she was like, "Oh, you got a chance here to do something again." She said, my wife is the most supportive wife when it comes to this. As I struggled a long time. I feared I'd never get married because it's not, I'm sure, as anybody who's ever married a musician, they know it is not easy being married to a musician. It's a different lifestyle. And a lot of people,
No question.
And a lot of people think they can handle it. Then they get into it and they're like, I can't handle this. And then they're like, and at first they love you for it, then they hate you for it, and then then they want to change you. And I was just never. I never really let anybody change me.
I personally don't think it's possible to change anybody. Right. I mean, you can temporarily put handcuffs on them, but who they are is going to come forward.
Exactly, and it's going to eventually cause a problem later. Then,
no question.
No
question.
And my wife has just been, she loves it. She loves it. And I think I credit her a lot for my recent successes because she just refuses to let me quit. Like not quit, but she refuses to stop pushing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because she just has that much faith in me. And like I said, she heard this song and she looked at me and said, "You have to record this song." And boy, it's been great.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear it. I know Frank Vieira was pretty enthused about it too.
Oh yeah.
And Frank was guarded in how much he revealed because he didn't want to upstage you guys. But off camera, he goes, "Wait till you hear the song."
Yeah.
So,
did he really? That's
yes,
awesome.
Yes, he did.
That's awesome.
Yes, he did. So
yeah, he should be proud. He wrote a great tune.
No, I think the two of you are that's a pretty cool combination.
I think it is too.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool combination.
I'm sorry it took so long for us to start doing this because I feel like,
it's never too late.
It's never too late, and maybe the timing was just right for it. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the two. Let's talk about the turn of the century, 1999, 2000, 2001. What music was like then. When downloading was just kind of starting, and no one could get Napster, you know, and I take the side of the, I definitely take the side of the artist.
Yeah.
I believe it is theft and all that good stuff. But the reason I bring it up is I want your take. I spoke with Abby at great length about this, Abby Abundanz, in a prior podcast about how artists would really look to monetize their creative work. That was the organic nature of music going back 100 years.
Sure.
Right. And there was a lot of corruption involved in that too. A lot of artists were taking advantage of. But the essence was, you produced that music because you needed to produce it, and if it was good, like you talked about earlier, good music, you could monetize it with a little luck.
Right.
It could happen.
Sure.
Abby was in the standpoint that one of the changing societal things with music was that it kind of was a little bit disposable now. Like, unfortunately, you could write the greatest song in the world, but because there's no way to really monetize it, your only hope of monetizing your craft is almost by playing out or touring.
That's where you make the money.
And the bigger
now.
bands maybe with merch on the side, but ultimately, so that kind of changed.
It has
Is that how you feel
I feel
about
that way
it?
completely. Yeah, Frank and I were just talking about that. He says really, really, you could get 1 million plays on Spotify or whatever, and you get like $20 for it or something. I don't know. I'm exaggerating maybe a little bit, but
it's pretty close.
But I think that is close. I think the artists are really taking a hit lately with the way it's being run.
Yeah.
Because they're really not. They're not making any money off of their music, and they really have to rely on the live shows to make their money.
And it's also interesting to me because watching you perform late 2000s, your live shows were dynamic, punchy, not aggressive. Aggressive is the wrong word, but I mean, when I say aggressive, I mean like engaging.
Sure.
And it made the audience pay attention. Even a casual person sitting there having a cocktail, they cannot watch what you're doing.
Right.
That's to me the core of a great entertainer.
Sure.
And
thank you for saying
that. But it's the truth. But I will tell you, in subsequent shows, you kind of turned that even up a notch further. Do you feel that you have to do that now because people are looking for more than just, unfortunately, just to come out and hear songs? They want to be entertained.
I do. And
maybe it's a demographic, societal thing, a millennial thing. I don't know. But do you feel that way?
I do feel that way. And I try to cater. Damn. Sorry.
That's all right.
I try to cater our set list to being that way because that's another thing I've always struggled with. There's music that I'd like to play, but I don't feel like it'll go over really well in a live setting because.
That's interesting. What do you mean by that?
So, like we said earlier, people want to hear things they know, and they want to, a lot of times if you're playing with most of our venues are clubs and bars, and people are drinking and they want to dance, they want to have a good time. Right. So,
and the shows I've been at where you guys play, they do.
Right, they do. Right, but I know that I have to cater my set list to that happening. Okay. So I have to make sure that it's up tempo. It keeps people engaged. And it keeps people on a dance floor.
Okay.
Right? So it kind of limits what you can play at a show.
Like in terms of a ballad or something slower?
Yeah, right.
You just can't do those?
I limit the songs that are ballady or even just kind of a
slower
melodic tempo that's...
Now, has that changed? Was that something you could do 18, 20 years ago that you now you can't anymore?
No, I'm not sure that's changed a whole lot. I think that's all for playing the places that we play. I feel like that's always been a thing.
Really?
Yeah, that you always that's almost like the original music. You kind of, if there's a song that's like that you really want to play, and you feel really shows off the talent of the guys in the band, you have to place those strategically to where you've got everybody going, and they might need a break, so you play that, and then you get everybody going again. So you kind of have to.
The average fan would have no idea that the way you create the set list is strategically done.
Probably not, but I put a lot of thought into that.
See, that's
I put a lot of thought into that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and I've learned. I've learned a lot over the last 20 years of playing how to do that. And I can almost tell. I can look at a grouping of songs in the set list and go, we're going to start losing people right about here, so we need to pick it back up. You know what I mean? So it's, and another thing, I feel like we've changed a little bit of how. So when I was, for most of my career, bars wanted you to play for 4 hours, 9:30 to 1:30, 10 to 2, 9 to 1, whatever. It was 4 hours.
With 3 sets typically?
Or 3 sets, right?
Okay.
So it would be 3 1-hour sets with 2 half-hour breaks.
Okay.
And what I found over the years was that last set was usually not that great, because in that second set break, a lot of people would leave. You know what I mean? It's later. You know what I mean? It's people are like, maybe we should go.
They're drunker,
They're drunker, right? And I thought, and I found that we would lose the crowd in that last set. So that last set usually was just
throwaway songs.
It was throwaway songs, and I always found it difficult to stay. After playing 2 sets, playing that third set was just kind of like.
I mean, to get up for it almost.
Yeah, to get up for it. Right, exactly. So I said, let's do this. If a bar wants us to play from 9:30 to 1:30, I'm going to say we're going to take our first break at the beginning of the show. We're not going to start till 10. We'll play from 10:30 to 1:30, and we will do 2 90-minute sets and take 1 break in the middle, right? So that middle break, they're still ready to go, right? So when we start that second set, it's still packed house. People are still ready to go. And that has worked out so well for us.
Really?
And I know other bands have gone to places and tried to do that now because they see us doing it. But from what I've heard, places, they don't want to let anybody else do that. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Because it's such a better format. I really think that it's beneficial to the bar to do that.
Sure.
Because it keeps people, if they want to sell alcohol till they close. You know what I mean? So why not I personally think that that's the way to go. Do 2 sets, 2 long sets, eliminate one of the breaks.
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is providing people a chance to sneak out the door.
So help me understand this as a local artist. I've never really explored this, but I always wondered this too. My uncle played with Gary Balloum and the Blues Bombers in Pittsburgh here for decades. I used to go down to Gene's, on 51 there. Gene's Blues Bar was a thing. It was a thing for a while.
Right.
And they would always do 3 sets. And you're exactly right. The last set was kind of not lethargic because Gary and they really brought it, I thought. Yeah. But you could tell it was just not quite the same enthusiasm.
Right.
The bar place was half gone.
Exactly.
I get all that. But is the break for the band or is the break for the bar? Is it because you go see a major act, they're going to put a 90-minute show on, maybe a 2-hour show. I know you guys can play 3 hours straight.
Sure.
If you had to.
If we had to.
Or 2.5,
right.
or even 2.5 hours straight through.
Sure.
Breaks and set lists or whatever they call them. Is it for you guys, the band, or is it pretty much is it strategic for the bar for people to indeed use the restroom, go to the bar, get more alcohol? Why are there breaks like that with most acts? In your opinion.
I don't feel the break benefits the bar at all, because usually the band is playing where the bar is. Like
right.
They're not waiting for a break to go to the bar. Right. When they need a drink, they go to the bar.
Yeah, and usually there's service coming around.
Right. It's not like a big concert show where people are looking, like you said, looking for their they're playing a new song, I'm going to run out and grab a beer. It's like that's not. I don't feel that breaks I think if a band could play straight through all night long, it would be beneficial for the bar.
Right,
You know what I mean? So I don't feel like the breaks benefit the bar at all. And I don't know. I think the problem is that they want that 4-hour block.
Got it.
And
I get it.
you
don't expect the band to play 4 hours.
You can't, right?
Yeah, I get. They want you there for that long of a period of time, knowing though that they couldn't rationally expect you to play 4 hours.
Right. So even like some of the casinos and stuff we play, that's their set format: 1 hour on, half hour off. 1 hour on, half hour off. That's their and some of the places that we play, they make us adhere to that. Actually, there's only one place, but every other place we play, they feel that the way we do it works. And they let us. And
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Is it not like what's the? Because when I would see my uncle in that band play, I would be like, wow, it seemed like they were there for like 30 minutes and there's a break, or maybe 40 minutes. There's a break, and that break would last a while.
Yeah.
And then and the band gets to mingle with the crowd. I get all that, but I always wondered. It almost seems kind of like unnecessary.
It is.
Unless the catalog's real small, then most of those bands are cover bands, and they're
But see, that's the thing though. We're not playing. So if a band plays 1 hour on, half hour off, 1 hour on, half hour off, 1 hour on, they're playing 3 hours of music, right? We are doing 90 minutes, half hour off, 90 minutes.
I like that.
We're playing 3 hours of music.
Solid, yeah.
They're not getting any less music.
Right. No, I get it. I get it.
It's just condensed.
And I think that's better crowd management, not fan management, in terms of keeping the fans engaged with the band. I get that.
Exactly.
And you basically, and there's something to be said, in my honest opinion. I've always said this. There's something to be said for a prestige level when to help your band's prestige to play later, not start at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. I mean, or make it a 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock start, and just play longer, or play till close.
Right.
Maybe one break. That's perfect.
Yeah. And it works. It really works out well.
Did you get any pushback outside of the big casinos?
Not anymore.
Good for you.
Not anymore.
Good for you. That's just your thing.
Yeah, that's just they just know. That's our.
And it helps a little bit. If you're starting a half an hour later than normal, is that pretty much it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's all we're doing is starting a half hour
anticipation,
later.
though.
That's
good
it.
stuff
Yeah,
too.
exactly. And a lot of times now, we try to. If the venue is acceptable to it, like if we know it's going to be a good night, then we try to hire maybe like an acoustic act to play early. So it kind of fills that little bit of that void.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So.
Got it. What's the state of acoustic music now? A couple guests I've had on, a couple other guests that are coming on. They like you do. They have an acoustic ancillary part of their career. They do, but they feel universally like that's kind of fading away. Like the acoustic was a thing for a while, and clubs and bars wanted to have that. Acoustic Thursday nights or whatever. And but they feel like that's kind of like for whatever reason kind of fading away. Do you feel that at all, or do you think there's still a good? Do you think there's a good demand out there, at least in the Pittsburgh area, for acoustic music?
I don't feel it's going away. To be honest with you, I play as many acoustic shows as I do band shows.
Interesting.
I mean, I play Thursday nights. I play Sunday nights. Sunday afternoons. I get as much acoustic work.
Interesting.
As I do band work.
Okay.
And
what's the difference between the two? Electric acoustic, I know obviously the technical differences naturally, but in terms of as a performer, I'd be interested. Like, what's the vibe?
For me, I love the diversity of the two shows, because for me, it's you're seeing two different shows. So if you come out to see me play acoustic, you're not going to see what you see when you go see Rough Creek.
Okay.
Most of the time, I barely play any of the songs that we play when I play with the band.
Okay.
I deliberately try to not play those songs, so that if you're coming to see me play acoustic, you're seeing an entirely different show. And what I love about the acoustic shows is that it's kind of more of an intimate setting, where you're more interactive with the people that are sitting around watching you. You're fielding requests.
Sure.
You've got some banter with the crowd, which
Absolutely.
I love.
Yeah.
And
it's more intimate.
It is definitely more intimate. And sometimes I have just as much fun, if not more fun, when I do my acoustic shows, depending on the night, because it's and to me, that's the benefit of doing both is that it breaks it up. It breaks up the monotony of doing the same show all the time.
I bet.
So, and when I do an acoustic show, I could play acoustic show Thursday night and then do one on Friday night, and they'd be two entirely different shows, because I might play an entirely different set of music, because I can play whatever I want.
Sure.
I don't have to worry if anybody else knows it.
Right.
As long as I know it, I can play it. And I have a catalog of like 300 songs that I can pick from.
That's strong.
You know what I mean?
That's very strong.
I literally could play 3 nights in a row and not play the same song twice. So, I mean, that's difficult when you've got 4 other people, because, you know, they might know that many songs on their own, but we might not all collectively know that many of the same songs. So you kind of have to keep that set list kind of structured.
But obviously, there's more energy, obviously, with a live band
absolutely,
show.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I've actually heard a lot from people that they like to come out and see the acoustic show because they can actually really hear me sing. Mm. You know what I mean? Whereas in the live show in the band, they hear me sing, but it's a live show.
It's not the concentration.
It's live show.
Vocals aren't the pure concentration.
Exactly. So a lot of times they'll say, we love to go see the band, but we also like to do this because we can actually just sit down and listen to you sing. You know, and so that, you know, that's probably my favorite part of the acoustic stuff, is that I can just sit there and really sing to people, you know, and so I really enjoy doing both, and I'll probably always do both because of that reason alone. Yeah.
I've had a couple many years ago. I had a couple conversations with a couple of national musicians, and we were talking about the quality of music and MTV Unplugged in the early 90s, the Clapton thing, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, who else was a big one on there? That kind of launched a whole different secondary guitar-oriented thing.
Right.
And I heard this comment a couple times, and the comment was, a good song, a really good song, is one that'll translate to an acoustic supremely.
Yes.
Do you feel that way?
I do feel that way.
Whether it's rock, metal, country, R&B, whatever.
Absolutely, and it could be, you know, like you said, you know, a really rocked up song, but something. I like to listen to some of these stations that they have, you know, where these like acoustic cafe. Where they'll take all of these rock songs and
it's good stuff.
And it's, you know what I mean? I'm like, wow, that's a super cool version of that song.
Interpretation.
You know what I mean? Yes. And it's not that you don't like the original song. I mean, the original song it's great. You're always going to love that. But just hearing it in that different light and that different interpretation, like you said, is sometimes you're just like, man, that's just super cool. You know? And I feel like when I'm playing my acoustic stuff, I can kind of do that too. I can play it the way I hear it in my head. I can just sit there and play it. And
as a player, obviously, as you know, I mean, acoustic, there's no room for error.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. That's the thing. As a guitar player, you know, I mean, every string will articulate.
Absolutely.
And if you screw one fingering up, you will hear it. And you will feel it, and the audience who doesn't play will hear it, and they will know something isn't right. They can't tell you what's wrong, but they'll tell you they know something is just not right. So the acoustic's a new animal, right?
It is. It can be an unforgiving animal.
The acoustic guitar is very unforgiving. But that leads me to the next question. So when you write, do you write with acoustic guitar in hand? Do you really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Normally, if recently, you know, Frank and I will get together in my music room and he'll play. He can't write without a guitar in his hand because he's constantly playing the melody on the guitar, and he's got a really interesting way of writing songs, because, you know, I know guys that'll sit there and they'll play a little bit of it, and then they'll kind of ponder over the words for a while, you know, and play with the words for a while. But whereas Frank, he works out the words in his head while he's playing it. So he just keeps playing the melody over and over and over again, and then singing different ways. To sing, maybe throwing in a word here, throwing in a line here. Like, so he works out those lyrics instead of on paper in his head.
But he actually develops the melody first.
He does. That seems to be, at least my experience with him. It comes with the melody first.
Is that how you do it?
That's the way. That's been the best for me. Is coming up with an idea first, and then trying to find a melody, and then making the words kind of.
Inspiration come from anywhere?
It comes from all over the place. Sometimes it doesn't even. Okay, so the last song that Frank and I wrote, a song called "More with Less," right? And
sounds like the title of a self-help book.
Right, exactly. Right, it almost is too, because he came over to my house, and we'll schedule sessions where he'll come over to write. And almost every time we get together, we pump out a new song, which is awesome. I love that. But he came over, and at the time, I was installing a rear view camera on my minivan for my wife.
Okay.
And I made some kind of comment about being, a jack of all trades, master of none. I can do a little bit of everything, and I said, and I can do more with less than a lot of people, and we kind of ran with that idea. So this song is and it literally just happened when he got there. We were like, I looked at him, I said, that kind of sounds like a song. An hour later, we had a song called "More with Less," and it's a really cool tune. It's just sometimes those ideas they just come out of nowhere. Sometimes you have to sit down. We'll sit down and we'll try to come up with an idea, but then sometimes they just organically happen in a situation like that. So
you don't actually impose deadlines on yourself, like, hey, by Friday I have to have a new song.
I couldn't.
I couldn't work that way,
because I would feel like that would compromise the song.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't be like it would be. I would feel like I was rushing to make it be what.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance between art and business, and it's bastardized how many times. I mean, you hear the stories of the businessman, kind of taking advantage of the artist, or the artist who signs a contract and can't deliver any material because he has a writer's block for 3 years. You hear both sides.
Right.
I get all that. Talk to me a little bit about, for all the years you've been playing music, have been performing, creating music. You've had to see some changes. So if you you first were inspired by Garth Brooks, right? Early 90s. Was your first gig as a solo artist like what, mid 90s, late 90s?
It would have been the late 90s.
Okay, so let's I'll throw a date out, 98ish.
Probably.
Okay, so from then to now,
97, 98,
21 years.
Yeah.
You're playing out live in front of people. Talk about the differences, or are there any?
Well,
beer prices have gone up.
Beer prices have definitely gone up.
Maybe not a ton, but I mean it has.
I feel.
It's 21 years.
I do feel like there are less places to play around here than there used to be.
I thought you'd say that.
Yeah, I feel like some of the great venues that there used to be to play in kind of disappeared.
21 years. Talk about them. What's gone that you loved?
Rhythm House.
Me too. Go ahead.
I mean, I spent
I think you get a lot of agreement with that one.
I spent a lot of time at the Rhythm House. Even when I wasn't playing, I was there to see somebody else play.
Sure. All genres.
And the bartenders. Dare always know how to hire bartenders.
Yes, they did. Yes, I remember that. Yes, indeed. You bet.
But seriously, it was just places like that. That place was designed specifically for live music.
It was such a special kind of place. It's just a shame.
Right, and there aren't many places like that now.
Yeah.
That are just really there because of the music.
Yeah.
And I feel like that bar was there because of the music.
No question.
And
all genres too.
All genres,
blues,
everything.
Rock
He
and
had
roll,
everything.
Country.
They would do their country night. They would do, what I mean. They would sometimes have a band in the back room and a different band in the front room. It was just.
Yeah.
I miss that place so badly. But I feel like that's been the biggest change. Just
the venue changes.
The venues have changed, and
well, social media has to be playing a different. I mean,
and that too, for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, like and everybody I've had on this, every artist and musician, I've had some artists on too. Mia Tarducci. Everybody talks about how, and they've all been working in their craft for about the same time you have been. Except Freddie. Fred Quall is a little older. Yeah. But the point is, they all talk about the change from the early 2000s to now, and the societal change, not just in what we see every day with social media, but how social media impacted their particular craft or their particular industry. And I guess social media is great for an artist if they can interact with their fan base or develop a fan base.
Right.
But at the same time, do you feel their expectations are different? Are they too close now? Are the expectations too high? What's your thought on it?
I do think the social media has helped in being able to promote yourself. You're able to really, if you've got so many followers on your Facebook page, you can say, "Hey, I'm playing at this place," and it'll immediately go out to thousands of people to let you know that you're playing there. That has definitely changed from when I started, because when I started, they had to look in the paper to see.
That's how it was?
Who was
or
playing?
Maybe an email. You had
right.
an email list, I'm sure, at some point, right?
But even that wasn't the big thing. It was, places would run ads in the paper, in the entertainment section of the paper.
Right.
Yeah, and
wow. We're old,
and it was,
pal.
Right, exactly, yeah. And so, but then I also feel like you have to be so careful with everything that you do on the social media, because you'll turn off a lot of fans just by, like, if one person in the band, like, I try to make sure that, at least for myself and anybody that I have control over, doesn't do anything. They stay out of politics. They stay out of anything controversial. You know what I mean? I was like, if you feel that way about something, that's fine. You are totally entitled to feel that way. But don't get involved in this, because
it's not a band opinion.
It's right, exactly. And I don't want,
it's tough.
And you could stand on stage and say, you could, if you said, "This is the way I feel something about," you're going to have half the people who agree with you, and half the people are not going to agree with you. So everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I don't feel like everybody needs to impose their opinion on everybody else. Yeah. So,
like one artist told me years ago, before even social media, I'm an artist. I play music, and my thoughts on politics are not important to anybody. And me making the mistake of saying something on stage and alienating half my audience. Exactly. Not just that audience that night, but potentially with social media, the audience that buy yours or like your music.
Absolutely.
And we're so polarized as a society that you could have a fan of a certain band that might be following that band vigorously for 40 years. And that one member of the band may say one thing political that doesn't agree with that fan. That fan is gone.
Gone. Exactly.
And that's a pretty sad commentary on society.
It is.
But you know as well as I do that it's reality.
But that's reality of the business. It is. So I try to avoid all, like, during the presidential election, somebody asked me if I would wear a certain hat on stage,
right.
And whether I
wanted
irrelevant. To or not, it was completely irrelevant. I was not going to do it.
No. Smart move.
I was just not. I don't play politics on stage. Yeah. I'm up there to play music for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't care what your politics are.
That's the winning attitude.
Yeah. I really don't. I saw something posted the other day that I couldn't agree with more. That said, if you are upset with somebody because of their political views, then you are the problem. Because everybody's entitled to their views. It seems like everybody just wants to get angry at somebody else for their views. That's what this country is all about, is being able to have your own views.
Freedom.
We should rejoice in the fact that we can
rejoice at differences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So don't get angry. Just have positive.
And that's all fun, and I agree with you 1,000%, man. And I have had, and it's an interesting topic, I agree with you 1,000%. But you and I know that the reality is that we want that world to operate this way, but the world won't. I'm not talking just America, the world now. We're all interconnected with the internet. So we have to actually, when you're growing up, so I'm walking through a grocery store and I'm a kid, and I had no filter as a young person. And I saw a very, very overweight guy walking through the grocery store. And, of course, I yell out to him, "Hey, Mom, look at that fat person." Naturally, horrible thing. My parents were mortified. I was scolded, as I should have been. Right. My point being, we learn when we're young what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. We should never hurt anybody, purposefully.
Right.
That was good. That was good manners, good etiquette. I think a good way to live, right?
Sure.
The appropriate way to live.
Sure.
Civility. We've also have now a different level of civility, which is, I think, a portion of society that is looking to be offended. And I raise this because I raise this with all my guests. Do you feel at times you have to be uber sensitive that even a casual comment might be misconstrued a different way? Does that make any sense?
It actually it comes into our writing almost. Like,
really?
You're almost like, okay, well, we really can't say that in this song because that might piss somebody off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's you always have to be conscious of that now. Because it just seems like, and I don't want to be the guy is
I get it.
But
it has to be frustrating as an artist. That's why I'm asking you this question. I know it's a tough question, but
very frustrating.
But I've had comedians on this show. I've had artists on this show, actors, recording artists, and they all kind of have. Give me the comedians I've had on this show. Tell me point blank.
I bet you it's worse for them.
Oh, it's absolutely off the rails.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, I'd venture to say, and we're going a little off topic here, but Devon, I'd venture to say that if you and I had a conversation with somebody who was, kind of pissed off because a current comedian might have made a joke about any segment of society, and they were pissed. And we got them to calm down. We had a cup of coffee. We started talking about like Richard Pryor. Oh, yeah, he was funny.
Yeah.
Right? It's so hypocritical because the people that you look back in your past who are icons in an industry, you were kind of okay with their humor. But what's happening in front of you now is like being examined, looking for a problem.
Right. And that's the way I feel with everything that we do.
Yeah. So when you write, you actually have to guard your. Really, see, that's
absolutely.
No one said that to me yet. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not always so overt that you're looking, but in the back of your mind, you're always thinking of that. You're always thinking, this needs to be worded properly.
Yeah.
So as to not offend somebody.
Yeah.
And
that kind of to a certain degree, wouldn't you think that does kind of curb a level of creativity?
It does. It does. I think it absolutely does. And I just don't understand when we became so sensitive. I don't. I mean, things.
It happened during your career somewhere.
It totally did.
In the years you've been in this business.
It totally did. Yeah.
And most of my guests in here with the similar age demographic, it happened somewhere in their careers as well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, there wasn't a seismic change of any kind, right?
No, I don't think so. I think it's funny. We'll sit back and we'll watch. I'm an 80s kid.
Yeah.
I love 80s music. I love 80s movies. I love everything about the 80s, except the clothes. I hope those never come back.
I'm sure you have a pair of parachute pants in there somewhere, man.
I hope those never come back.
You got them tucked away.
I
lie.
The 70s stuff came back around, and I was like, that's cool. I like the way that looks. But if the 80s stuff comes back around, I might hide. But I watch some of this stuff now, and I listen to some of this stuff, and I think to myself, you could never get away with that today. There's no way. Like you said, Richard Pryor. Like, he would never be able to
Eddie
say.
Murphy, George Carlin, Lenny Bruce, if you want to go all the way back to Lenny Bruce,
right.
My parents' probably generation.
Yeah.
Even the shows like Laugh-In, early Saturday Night Live, the early years. And, I don't think it's cool to make fun of any particular group of society. But then again, comedy was always a little irreverent, right? I mean, it was. To a degree, it was.
Honestly, I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think we've lost the ability to laugh at ourselves.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean? Like we've lost the ability to laugh at ourselves. That was kind of always the whole point. It wasn't really that we're poking fun at somebody as much as it was that we were making light of it.
Yeah, it also was a reflection too. I mean, it's hard when you have someone like Jerry Seinfeld. Again, we're off topic here, but this is an entertainer sitting in front of me, and he's told me today on this show that he has to write with a level of filter up there to make sure that it can't be misconstrued by somebody.
Right.
And I'm just saying that in society in general, someone like Jerry Seinfeld, who made a career off of not really being that funny, just being part of a show that was collectively funny.
Right.
But he said that his comedic value is basically reflective of society. That in his early years, he would just repeat what he saw happen in society was funny.
Right.
For him to say that he really can't even do that anymore, he would rather not perform live anymore because he's got to censor everything he writes.
Right.
And it's just a mirror of what he's seeing.
It is.
That's kind of, And to write a song that, I don't know. I'm not for hate. I'm definitely not for bullying. I'm not for persecuting any group of people. Although I will say, I think we unfortunately label each other too much in this society. We're all being thrown in the boxes now.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Let's not go deep into that, but let's transition there. One of the things that I find awesome is that I think the walls or the typical labels of music genres are being torn down now.
Oh, they totally
and I
are.
love it. I love every aspect of that.
Well, that goes back to what I said earlier. Like, when somebody, what's your favorite kind of music? Good music. You know what I mean? Like, why
Absolutely.
does it have to have why does it have to be labeled? Why does it have to be, like, for example, this Old Town Road song?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like,
It's
there was this big argument on, well, it shouldn't be on this chart or it shouldn't be on. I'm like, come on. Like, why does it have to be this or that?
A genre.
Why does people like it? Let it go.
Obviously, people are paying money for it. They're downloading and paying for it. And if it's, would you not agree that society votes with their wallets?
Absolutely. We've actually had people already are interested in doing like a dance remix of our new single.
Amazing.
Right?
Good for you.
And another guy, they want to do like a remix, kind of like the Old Town Roads kind of thing. And I'm sitting back and I'm going, do it.
Why not?
Do it. You know what I mean? Because
expose your music to so many
Get
people.
it. I want it to reach everyone. So do it. I'm all about it. I don't.
And I think all those damn labels were created by music company executives decades ago. Nothing relevant now.
Right.
And I think that unfortunately the music industry hangs on to these, not by much anymore, but they're hanging on to, and Billboard does it, and it's not what the people want.
Right.
It goes for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's like a small group of people that start a building called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they decide who gets in. I mean, come on. It's about, it's about the people deciding.
It should be about the people deciding.
It should be. You're right.
And I've actually heard that. Excuse me. I've actually heard that it's a lot. We were talking about how the music has changed and how the business has changed, and I think that we have been provided with a better way, or at least a more accessible way, for all artists to make their music available to all people.
Frank talked about that when he was in. He's a big believer in that.
Yeah.
Like streaming, right?
Streaming, right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you literally can get your music to millions of people now, whereas before you needed a label to do that, right? But I've also heard that those labels are fighting back against that. I've heard that I don't know how much truth there is to it, and I really don't want to believe it, but I've heard that those labels are trying to do things to undermine.
I've heard it too.
Artists doing that because they don't want them to have success without them.
They can't monetize it for their own gain.
Exactly.
And so that's the double-edged sword to me. Okay, so again, we talked earlier about a band being able to monetize their craft or their creation, a song. If people dig it and they buy it, that was a source of income for them.
Right.
But now, and Frank and I wanted to dive into this a little further with Frank because we're kind of congruent on that, but he's maybe on the other side of the fence a little more than me. He's a tech guy. Frank's a big tech guy.
He's a tech guy, big time tech guy. Yeah.
So I still feel that downloading without purchasing is a crime. I don't want to put anybody in jail. I just think it's unfair. I think it's theft. I think that creativity should be able to be monetized if the public feels it's valuable enough to buy it.
I agree.
That's my opinion.
I agree with that 100%.
Okay, so what's happening is, though, on the converse side, the converse argument is that there is an ability now to reach so many more people because you can throw it out there for public consumption.
Right.
I get that. Oh, man, it seems to me, as a fan of music and a guy on the peripheral of the music business for decades, it's torn the ass out of the revenue for the artists.
It totally has. And I'll tell you,
just my thoughts.
I'll tell you that me personally, I don't stream. I don't do it. If I like a song, I go to iTunes and I purchase it. And I purchase it.
Yeah.
And that's just my mindset on it. Because
so you're saying the $9.95 subscription is almost an insult to the artist, that you can go and grab anything you want for any catalog, any song, probably on the face of mankind.
I do.
For $9. I think it's a joke too.
I do. I think you should have to.
Somebody's making money, and it's not the artist.
It's not the artist, though.
Right.
It's not the artist.
Correct.
Like I feel like that part of it has to change. Something has to be done, and it's really going to take the artists to all get together and say,
okay, but
we've had enough.
Is music disposable now?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, for local acts like yourself, and you're a regional act, you're not a local act. You've paid your dues. You play big crowds. You play a lot. Your music's been accepted by a region of people in this country. It's got to be extremely frustrating to know that if I'm going to go in the studio, probably spend 10 grand or more, I'm probably conservative on that, creating an 8-10 song new album, and get it there, knowing that you probably don't want to press it in CD form because you're not going to be able to sell them outside of your own venues, right? Because there's no distributing way to do it. There's no way to.
Right. I don't do CDs.
So where's the return for you outside of personal satisfaction?
Shows.
Yeah.
Shows.
Right.
Right now, to me, I'm not even looking at the song as far as sales of the song.
As a revenue generator.
Right. I'm not at all. I'm just not. Because
that's the problem.
Yeah. It's just not.
The creation of a song was attached to an artist, which made them pursue that for a career. Mm-hmm. That was a functional, good way. Now, yes, there was greed, there was corruption, big music companies dictating. And let's face it, the public was dictated to probably on what genres were, what you should. There was payola going on the radio. Listen, any successful model will have elements of corruption to it.
Sure.
I'm just saying now, how the hell do you guys monetize your creativity? It's not. It doesn't. I don't like the word fair. It just doesn't seem equitable.
No. And I'll be honest with you. I think, like when you meet some of the artists right now who are, top of the charts, they're living like normal people because they're not making the money.
That's crazy.
They're not making the money. They're making what they make when they're on the road, and it
just
almost
360 deals.
Yeah.
With the label and the management.
Right. So I do feel like it does provide that platform to get it out to those millions of people, but the money's not there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's what do you want? Do you want the fame or do you want the money?
Yeah.
It almost seems like you can't have both. You can't have both.
Or even a portion of both.
Right?
You'd like to be able to. I mean, it used to be a career.
Yeah.
Paul Stanley at KISS told me, decade and a half ago, I guess, that he was furious about the downloading stuff because imagine their ASCAP checks all those years residuals,
right,
and then have them go poof in like 2000, 2003 when it was just being given away. But he said that going into music, and if you were good, good meaning that the public dug what you did, that could be a career path. And he was saying now, and I'm sure he feels the same way now. There's no. these young bands don't stand a chance of making that a career path. I mean, you have a day job.
Right.
Abby has a day job. Frank Vieira has a day job.
Right.
You guys are extremely talented, but the idea of like taking it to the next level, it's almost got to be difficult. I mean, almost like you don't dwell on that because it's almost impossible.
Right. And that's always been my mindset. I know that I cannot rely on the money from the music. I can't rely on it.
And have you always felt that though? Even like in 97, 98, 2000, 2001, did you always feel that way? Or has it changed?
Personally, I felt that way, not because of this, not because of the music business.
Yeah.
I just, for me, I was always. It was just I didn't have enough. To me, I've always wanted the security.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nothing wrong with that.
Because I might have a great month where I play 10, 12 shows that month, and the money's great, right? But then it could be February, and the weather is just killing everybody, and you know what I mean? And I'm making nothing.
Got it.
You know what I mean? To me, the insecurity of
the
inconsistency, I should say.
That feeling is shared through amongst a lot of artists. Absolutely.
So I've always, I literally have always worked, just because I know that I'm going to get that paycheck. It doesn't matter what happens.
I get it.
You know, so.
Yeah, but the mechanism really wasn't in place for the bulk of your career to monetize your craft and get a streak of luck and get out there and and have it accepted and go on tour. The opportunities are much less now. Would you not agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
When No Regrets was out, I had a single that was on the Music Row charts.
Mm-hmm.
62, I think it got up to. Was what it got up to. But we had a thing in place where anybody could download the song for free.
Wow.
Just to get it.
Sure.
So I made. I think I just paid off that CD like 5 years ago.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I made it in 2006 because, we spent like $40,000 making on that project,
Absolutely.
and it just never gave us the return.
Yeah. That's so sad to me.
I took a chance on it, It is sad, but it's reality, unfortunately.
So the whole business model has changed completely.
It's changed
so
completely.
touring makes the money,
Yep.
live performance makes the money.
Right.
And that's why you guys are out there humping and pushing.
Exactly.
Not because you don't love what you do. Obviously, it has to come from a place of love and passion. But that's the only opportunity to make any money from your craft.
I agree. And what I feel like the music that we're putting out there for people is more of a promotional tool now instead of a money-making tool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you're putting
changed.
that's your advertisement is the song.
Yeah.
People love the song, so they want to come out and see you play.
Right.
That's where you're going to make the money.
All right.
So.
All right. No, I get it. So just change up a little bit. What do you love about Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh region? Because obviously you've done some traveling in your day. What do you love about home?
Oh, Pittsburgh's always going to be my home. Even if my wife and I always talk about maybe moving south one of these days when it, just because of the weather alone. But
the weather.
But it's what is that they say? You can take the boy out of Pittsburgh, but you'll never take Pittsburgh out of the boy.
That's right.
I do feel like
they all come back.
I do feel like there is just something about this area that it's like ingrained in your soul. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it has terrible traffic. It has terrible weather. It
does. And terrible baseball.
Terrible baseball. But
sorry.
Yeah, right. But I love it though. I do love Pittsburgh. I do love it.
And Pittsburgh's a country music town.
It is a country music town now.
Always been.
It has been
and
at least
country rock town too,
Yeah.
like Leonard Skinner knows Marshall Tucker.
Absolutely.
Allman Brothers. When they would come to Pittsburgh, there always was a huge following.
Absolutely. Then I'll be honest with you. I saw a lot of my friends in the music business pick up and move to Nashville and have a lot of success. And I never did that. I never picked up and moved to Nashville because I thought to myself, well, right now, I'm kind of, a bigger fish in a small pond with the music business. We're down there. I would be this tiny little fish
Role reversal
in a huge pond. And right now, I know what kind of money I can make here. Down there, I'm not going to make any money. I'm going to hope for that chance. And for me, like the whole job situation. I just never wanted to risk that, and I thought, and now when we're talking about the streaming thing and the way social media has affected the music business, I feel like you don't necessarily have to go to Nashville anymore. I feel like that used to be the only way to do it, but you had to go. I remember Vince Gill one time said, and this was when I was first getting started, he said, well, you can take a bucket and set it in a field and wait for the cow to go over there and fill it up. He goes, and it's never going to happen.
Yeah,
or you can take the bucket to the cow.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like he's saying you have to go, you have to take the bucket to the cow. You have to go. Boy, is that a country thing to say. But he made it sound like you have to go to Nashville. You have to be in the scene if you're going to have any kind of break at all.
Back before the internet, the interwebs, you probably had to.
You did. You absolutely. I do feel like you did, but I don't feel like you do now.
I don't either.
I feel like you can be anywhere and have success with your music as long as it's good enough. As long as there's people that want to listen to it.
Because we're so interconnected now.
Yeah.
And that probably has to be a huge difference in the way. Look, I'd imagine if you're on that stage in 2003 playing your songs and seeing the vibe of the crowd, and here we are 2019, oh my God, 2019, and you're out there playing your songs, see the vibe of the crowd. Outside of everybody looking just a little older, and you have newer fans too, but essentially the vibe, the feel, the fun is still there, right?
It is. Sometimes I feel like it's as good now as it's been.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. I'm extremely happy with where I'm at.
It shows.
It
shows.
And to be honest with you, I think about this all the time. I've seen a lot of bands come and go, and we've stood the test of time.
You have.
Like we have, we've outlasted almost everybody, and I love that. And I'm so proud of that.
And that's recognized. And whether it was Danger, whether it was Frank Bell, people that I talked about your band with them. They just keep doing their thing, and they keep improving their thing, and their shows are hard, meaning their shows are powerful. You put on a great show. That's gonna win people over. I mean, live music's everything now.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
right.
No, and it's not to discredit any recorded music because the songs are the core of it, but let's face it. I mean, you're out there proving yourself on stage. That's the essence of what you are as a performer, right?
Absolutely. And I feel like what has benefited us, what has kept us relevant for 20 years is that we've been willing to change with the time. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, and I respect that. I respect the people that want to stick to their guns and they want to stay where they are. This is
it's comfortable, right?
It's right. But for me,
not very marketable at times.
That's exactly, like, for me, I feel like we have to change with the time. If we want to stay relevant, we have to be relevant. So, the set list has always, it's always kind of morphed into what people are listening to. Like, some people have frowned on me for that, because, a lot
more
of people,
of a pop flavored country, whatever.
Yeah. You know what I mean? There's that. You're always going to have that argument. Some people don't feel like today's country is country anymore. It's pop country.
Look, man. Garth Brooks wasn't your dad's country, and that was 1993.
Right.
Come on.
Exactly.
Come on.
But that's what I feel has been my saving grace, is the fact that I've not done that to myself. I've not pigeonholed myself.
You stayed current.
I've stayed current. You know what I mean? I pay attention to what's popular. I pay attention to what people are listening to, and I try to make sure that our band. Now, I like to throw in the old stuff. You know what I mean? But I like to put in a good, nice mix. If you come to my show and if you like 90s country, or if you like pop country, or if you like a little bit of Southern rock, or even a little bit of 80s, you're going to come to my show and you're going to love. You're going to hear something that you like.
Yeah.
Because I try to make sure that our set, and even I don't like everything that's on the radio today. I
None
don't.
of us do.
Right, exactly. And sometimes I have to check the charts to see what's popular.
Sure.
To figure out,
That's
where we should
because we're getting
be.
older, pal.
Right? I don't. Yeah.
It's true.
I find myself not even really listening to the radio so much
Yeah.
anymore. If I'm listening to radio, I'm listening to sports radio.
Right. Join the club.
But when I listen to music, I kind of have my own playlists and my own things that I listen to, things I like.
Yeah.
So sometimes to stay relevant, I have to force myself to
Sure.
to figure out what's
Sure.
popular right now.
Sure.
So-
But that pop country thing, it's basically just country music with more of a dance element to it.
It
right?
is. And I don't think it's bad.
No, I
Some
don't
people,
either.
I have a lot of friends in the business that just
They're
really-
purists.
They are purists,
or they think they're purists.
right? And they fight it, and they why are you playing that stuff? And I'm like,
Some people want.
Well, and I hate to say this, but I'll look at them and I'll say, well, how many people were at your last show? Right? I can tell you how many people were at my last show. You know what I mean? It's like,
You're giving the
does that
people
make
what
me
they
a
want.
sellout? Does that make me a
Yeah,
sellout?
if you sell at every venue, you sell out.
Then I'm selling out, right?
Right.
So
and you're okay with that.
I am okay with that. I am okay with that. I mean, I am at the point in my career where I can't rest on my
You're not Bob Dylan.
I'm not,
going there,
right,
going to play a bunch of
exactly.
music that really no one wants to listen to, but you're Bob Dylan,
I'm
so
Bob Dylan,
people
right.
pay the money, right?
I'll give you a perfect example. We're playing with David Allen Co.
Yeah. Familiar with
Saturday.
him.
This coming Saturday,
Yeah,
we're
got
playing
a
with David Allen
story
Co.
there.
And he has all of these hit songs, right? But he won't play any of them. You know what I mean? He sits up there and he plays whatever he wants to play. He doesn't
he's
care if you like it or not.
Interesting guy.
He plays whatever. I don't know if I can
Say any effing thing
say
you want.
anything, but
Say
he's
any
an
fucking thing you want.
He's an asshole. Like I've played with him probably 6 times, and he gets worse as time goes. He's just an asshole. And
Now, does he feel he's earned the right to be that way, or do you think he's just generally an asshole?
both. I think he feels like he's earned it, but I think generally he is an asshole. I think
So my story with him, and I have no problem putting this on record. He was a friend of one of the artists that I had a small interaction with in my career. Dimebag Darrell played with a band called Pantera. It was Dimebag was killed on stage 2004. Before all that happened, and really before I was on the scene, Dimebag gave a guitar to David Allen Co. And the stories that I heard and the interaction, all that, was that he was a tough, mean, old, nasty son of a bitch. And my very, very, very minute interaction with him was that he was a miserable person that I wanted absolutely nothing to do with.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But small interaction with Boogie Street Guitars many years ago. And I would say that he is not of a philosophical framework that I agree with, and I'll just leave it at that because I'm being nice.
I'll agree with you there too.
Yeah, we know where I'm headed with that, right?
I know you're headed with
and
that.
it's just
Yeah.
nothing that I would ever want to be a part of.
Right.
But there's obviously he's got an audience out there, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but it's getting smaller and smaller because people are really getting tired of his shit.
yeah.
They
Man,
are.
how many times you played with him?
At least 6 times.
Really?
Yeah.
And you opened up directly for him. There you go, buddy.
Thank you.
And so again, that's part of rock and roll. I mean, not everybody's going to be everybody's cup of tea at all. But your the list of folks that are on your website over the years that you play with is like a who's who of country music and southern rock. I mean, you should be pretty proud of that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
what was that one moment that you had where you were opening for an act that just kind of like you met them and you were like, wow, they are great people. Because you always wondered about that, right?
Diamond Rio.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that has actually been one of the best things about what I've done is I've got to play with some of my heroes.
I bet.
And I've got
God
to
bless
meet
you.
some of my heroes. That just to me has been awesome. But I was always one of my favorite bands growing up was Diamond Rio, just because I thought their vocals, their harmonies, and the things that they did.
Yeah.
I just was always the biggest. Like every year they seemed like they won the vocal group of the year because they're to me that's I love that. And I was the biggest Diamond Rio fan. And then somebody called and said, hey, you guys want to open for Diamond Rio? And I was like, you don't even have to pay me. I will show up there and play with Diamond Rio. Absolutely.
That's very
I would
cool.
do that.
Very cool.
And then, but I've played with a lot of people who've disappointed me in the way they've acted when I've met them.
You don't have to name any names, but give me an example of where you were really disappointed.
Okay.
With one particular, you don't have to name an artist, but one particular artist and what happened.
Okay. So there was another artist who I thought was literally one of my favorites.
Sure.
I loved all of his music. I would have bought anything that he put out, and I would have gone to see him play anywhere. And we had the opportunity to play with him. And so he came in, and he went for his sound check. He kicked everybody out of the building.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't even want anyone in there.
Wow.
You know, and then he took forever to, like, he literally didn't leave the opening act anytime the sound check. None. We literally went on stage on the fly.
Wow.
To open for this guy.
Okay.
That's, I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine. I could probably live with that. But I remember
It's a dick
when we were,
move. It's a dick- it's a dick move.
It's a dick move.
Yeah.
It is. And then there was a point where he was walking out of the building as he was finally letting everybody come back in, and he literally, I always heard about this, people walking around with their nose in the air, like, because it's like some kind of, you know what I mean, like, but he literally walked past us and stuck his nose in the air, like the other direction, like he like literally like went, nope, I'm too good for you.
Really?
I don't want to talk to you.
Really?
And I was
He's trying to breathe different air from you, right?
I mean, it really looked like that. I was like,
Wow.
I was so put off by that.
Wow.
I thought to myself, oh my gosh.
Fuck
here's
them.
a guy that's like a legend. Like,
Yeah.
then this guy's
I
a
get
legend.
I get it.
in
I
country
get it.
music.
Yeah, I get it.
And I just was, man, I had always heard that he's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
But he
proved
really
it.
reinforced the fact that
he
he's a
proved
dick.
it, man. That's a shame.
I was so disappointed in that. So disappointed in that.
Yeah.
But then there's been the opposite.
Sure.
Like
Probably
the guys,
more times than not, right?
more times than not,
Yeah.
honestly. The guys have been great.
That's awesome.
When we played with Diamond Rio, they actually came out and watched our show. A lot of the acts won't do that, you know.
Yeah,
They came
that's
out and
very
watched our
cool.
show.
It's very cool.
And they sent their PR girl, the girl that handled all of their stuff, they sent her out and they said, listen, here's our card. If we can ever do anything to help you, let us know. I was like, what?
Stunned.
What? Yeah. This is like, these are my heroes, and
Yeah.
they just offered to help me.
How cool is that?
You know what I mean? And I thought, now that's class right there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
And their lead guitar player, Jimmy Olander, is revered by a lot of people as an incredible guitar
I know the
player.
name.
Yeah,
I know the name.
And our guitar player at the time, just worshipped the ground he walked on, and we were standing in the back and we were getting ready for the show, and he came in to kind of, I guess they put brand new strings on his guitar, so he came in and he was just kind of twinking around on his guitars and making sure everything was good, and he's standing there and he's bullshitting with us about the Steelers,
Right,
and he's
right.
doing all this stuff, and my
Right.
guitar player wasn't around, and I was like, oh shit, he has to be. I mean, he cannot miss this right now. He has to. So I went and got him, and he came back and he put his guitar on, and he starts kind of interacting with him, and it was literally one of the best things I've ever seen. Jimmy Olander walks up to him, and he stands, like, literally their guitars are like face to face. They're looking, they're nose to nose, and he looks him up and down, and he goes, "All right, kid, show me what you got." And then they're like trading licks with each other, and I was like, yes. I'm like, that's
Amazing.
badass. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
that's
Because he didn't have to
amazing.
do that. He didn't have to do that.
No,
We're some local opening act, but he was just, and they were.
That's the beauty of music, though,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have the personalities and the genuineness there, but
Yeah.
music can do that. You can do that. It's a
do that.
connectivity, right?
Absolutely. And I just, so that was, especially with how much I, grew up just as them being they were the band I wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
for them to be that way, it was
Yeah.
it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and probably consequently, it would be heartbreaking if they ended up being jerks.
It would have
how much
devastated.
yeah,
it would have devastated me.
You know, my short story was always I met Paul Stanley of Kiss doing the guitar work, and the guy became a friend.
Yeah.
He was that good.
Yeah.
You hear things, you know, like he's great with this fan, but he was a little, you know, put off by this fan. You don't know what to expect.
Sure.
But to have your childhood hero or childhood heroes
Right.
be great.
Right.
You'll love that, right?
You
That's
do
the
love
story
that.
you want.
That's the story you want.
That's the story you
That's
want,
true.
right?
And that's why it's so disappointing when it's the opposite.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's been those times have been a lot less than the other.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, ego and fame and all that stuff. Again, you know, we're not in their world, so we don't know. But it really is a shame when that stuff, you know, kind of supersedes just decency, and you see it. And in entertainment, you're gonna see it all the time.
You do see it all the
I
time.
mean, you know, and when we talked earlier about how have crowds changed it all, do you feel sometimes that the fans or followers of the band, do you think the average music fan feels more entitled now to know more about you, to feel? How do you feel about that? Because to me, I've had a couple of people say it's a little unsettling. And one of the things about social media now, Devon, is that, you know, maybe the general public knows too much about all of us, but especially celebrities, artists, people that perform. Maybe you feel like you're required to share more than you actually want to try to stay relevant. How do you handle that? Or do you feel a struggle at all with that at all? At times.
At times I do. I've never felt real comfortable about letting too much of my personal life be out there, but it's almost impossible now. You know, you can't, like, somebody's always taking a video, somebody's always taking a picture, so you can't stop that. You know, sometimes I'll look at a picture somebody took of me and I'll go, oh my gosh, I look terrible.
You can't
in that picture.
really,
You know what I mean?
You can't edit
but
those,
I can't
pal.
do anything about it. You know what I mean? So,
But in one regard, though, I would say it would have to be somewhat flattering. They care enough about your music. They want to remember that moment. It's a little. This is going back when I used to take photos for rock shows. I used to go, and I'm talking like 2010, 11, 12. You would see, instead of lighters, they'd hang the phone up. You know, the phone would be like, you know, their video. I think we're not living in the moment, and I'm sure you see that at shows too. I mean, I remember going to one of your shows maybe 5 or 7 years ago and seeing a ton of people just recording the whole thing.
yeah.
And same thing with not Powerneck, but the Hillbilly Way. I'd go and I'd see. It was almost like, listen, man, you're at a show. You're literally 7 feet from Devon. He's singing. Enjoy it. Right. Enjoy it. You're here.
Exactly.
Enjoy the moment.
Exactly.
You want to buy a video? Go see a video. There's a ton of them on YouTube. Why do you have to create another one?
I always got mad at my wife. She tries, and because she does that. We go to see somebody, you know, like Paul Simon. She was a huge Paul Simon fan.
Yeah, I get it.
And she's like,
she wants to remember it.
She's like, I'm like, stop looking at it through your phone. You can get that anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, watch
Experience.
what you're seeing right now. This is his finale show. You might never see him played live ever again in your life.
Right.
Take it in, enjoy it. So yeah, I've never understood the whole filming of the show.
Is it flattering to you when you're performing and you see people taking video of you?
It is.
To a degree. To a degree.
It totally is, because I know that if somebody's filming that, they're really enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah, and they care enough about
and
it.
They do care
I want
enough
to remember
about it.
this.
Right.
And they're not monetizing it. They just basically want to say, hey, look,
they're
look
doing
how
it.
good this band is, Bill. You got to come with me because here they are.
And that's what they're doing. So I never get offended by that, ever. But I do think
we're not living in the moment.
We're not living in the moment. Yeah. That's a struggle these days with the way it is. I still sometimes find it hard to get used to that. That you can, and I always have to be aware.
Sure.
That everything I do might be getting filmed by somebody. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, I've gone to a couple local shows. I won't mention the names of the bands. It was not Rough Creek. It was not THW. It wasn't Frank Vieira, but it's a couple local bands, and there were the fans of the bands that were filming, like going up and filming like the load in, filming the breaks, and just like getting like in just filming the whole thing happening.
Right.
And a couple of the band members were so unsettled by that, they went to the owner of the house or house manager and said, look, you got to get these people away.
Yeah.
Because I guess I'm not on the other side, so I can't associate with what you may feel, but it was a little creepy. It was a little odd, and maybe it was harmless, but it's almost like, let me see if you can relate to this. This will maybe encapsulate it. When I was young, I loved hard rock. I loved rock and roll, no matter what the band was, right? Rush, Led Zeppelin. But I would, once a month, I'd run down to like J&M News, about a couple blocks away from here, and I'd buy that rock mag with like 75 cents, right? I go home and I tear through those pages. I know that's archaic. I know I'm old. I'm not hip to that. But that was how we got our fill of our favorite stuff.
Absolutely.
You had to wait for it.
Right.
There was an anticipation.
Right.
And you cherished every flippin' printed word on there.
That's right.
And every bad photograph in black and white on those pages. I'm very cool about the improvement of that in the fan experience now with technology. But I think we've actually gone to the point where people are expecting that they have a right to know every single thing is going on. That's there's got to be that separation, right?
There really does. So I was thinking about that when you were saying, and if you're at a venue and you're doing a show, I don't know. I guess all bets are off at that point because you're there to entertain people.
You're exposed.
And you're exposed. So. At the venue, that's I'm not sure I would.
But now you have to couch everything you say.
Yeah, right.
No, really, if you're
right.
in between sets,
well,
right?
That's true.
If you went over and had a discussion with your drummer between sets, not a terse discussion, but just like, you know what, something's not right.
Right. Yeah.
We gotta get the sound guy.
Right.
But
yeah,
that's not for public.
tough.
But that's not for public consumption.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not. No, it's not.
But you can't stop it.
But you can't stop it. That's kind of where I'm going. You can't. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? What are you going to do? So,
I know it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it is a slippery slope. I don't even know what the right answer to that is.
But it happens.
It does happen, and you almost have to. I mean,
yeah, you roll with it.
You do have to kind of roll with it.
Yeah, and that's the changing dynamic now.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of these big artists like Roger Daltrey, The Who, getting crusty. Mm-hmm. It shows people filming him or smoking dope in his fronts there.
Right.
Everybody's kind of maybe adjusting to new society, maybe adjusting the way things are. But I think fans feel entitled.
They do feel entitled.
They feel
like they pay for their ticket. They can do whatever they want.
Criticism. I'm a fan too of music, and I've gotten used to social media. I want to know, when Jimmy Page is having Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin is having a property dispute with some pop star in New England. I don't need to know that, but it's pretty much all over every news and entertainment.
Right.
So I do know about it. That's where I draw the line. Like, there's got to be some kind of separation of personal life. And it happens to local acts too. You guys are, and that would drive me nuts. I don't know if I personally would have the temperament for that. You guys seem to have it, but it's got to be tough.
I have a funny story about that.
Go ahead.
Actually. So when I got married, I actually had people who were upset that I didn't invite them to my wedding.
I bet.
Because they felt like they were such a supporter of everything I've done that they deserved to be invited to my wedding.
Yeah.
And like, I had good friends. We had a limited space wedding.
It's your business.
It is my, you know what I mean? Like, and I couldn't believe the people that were upset that I didn't invite them to my wedding. And I'm thinking to myself,
20 years ago, that wouldn't have happened.
No, it would not have happened. And I just couldn't. That kind of put me off a little bit.
Yeah.
That put me off a little bit.
I'm
thinking to myself, but they feel like they're that much a part of your life now.
No question.
Because they can see all of it. They see all of it online. They see, you know what I mean? It's like, wow. Like,
so how do you delineate that? I know we keep coming back to that, but it's like So I have this show. We do some promotion there, and I'm a realtor. So I'm a quote unquote minor public figure. So I watch everything that's posted. I worry about how someone's going to view it, the optics of it all. Even the show, the optics are very important as we grow it. So I get that, but I'm not a performer. I'm not out like you are. I mean, you are performing, and you are really exposed.
Yeah.
And so every time you post or how you present yourself on social media, it kind of is your marketing, right?
It is. It is. We had a situation about a month or so ago where like I try to keep myself in check, if something upsets me on stage.
Sure.
Because I know that there's
Help me out when you say something like something you see happen out in the crowd, somebody says something, what do you mean?
Okay. If I tell you the story, it'll probably make this make a little more sense.
Sure.
So there was a certain person in the crowd who came up and asked us to play a song.
Okay.
I looked at this person and I said, I'm sorry, we don't know that song.
Right. Which is where it should have ended.
Right? You would think.
Yes.
You would think.
Yes.
But this person proceeded to go to every person in the band on our breaks, hey, can you play this song? Hey, can you play this song? And then, like, at one point, walked up, stole one of the set lists off the stage and wrote the song on the set list and put it, it was to the point where it was way across the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I do.
And I almost never have a reaction to stuff like that on stage.
Okay.
But I did.
Okay.
I kind of,
I stood up
on the stage and I said, I said, listen. I said, I can't remember exactly how I worded it because it was in the heat of the moment, but I said, if we know a song for you people and you want to hear it, we will gladly play it for you. But if you ask us to do a song and we tell you that we don't know the song, we are not going to play the song. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know exactly how I put it, but I would never do that on the microphone. Just not me to do that.
Right.
That's how far this person had pushed me that night.
Okay.
I was just at my wit's end. I thought to myself, and then I thought about it for days after that. I thought, oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Like, did somebody get that on film? Is somebody gonna post something about that?
Sure.
Is that, you know what I mean? Because it's so easy for something like that to get blown out of proportion.
In this era.
In
the era
right.
of like video cameras on phones,
Exactly.
YouTube, everything else.
Right. So I felt bad about doing that because that's not my style. I don't do that. But that's how far this person had pushed me.
Sure.
And I was just, I don't know. That bothered me for a long time. That it,
What happened or your reaction to it?
My reaction to it. Because, this person was visibly intoxicated.
You let them get to you.
I let them get to me.
And that bothered you.
I let them get to me, and
it's a natural reaction, though.
Yeah, but it did bother me, and I even apologized to a bunch of the people that I knew were there. I said, I'm sorry. That was probably not appropriate for me to speak that way, and I, that you all know, you've seen me play 1,000 times.
Sure.
That's not my style. They all looked at me and said, I'm surprised it took you that long to do it. So I felt a little bit better about that, but still,
No, I get it.
You're when you're on stage, you should keep those kind of feelings in check. I think.
Yeah, I get that. I get that, but also we're all human too. I mean, it's just this. That's the thing.
Human,
I mean, it's and social media certainly made performers. Look, social media's made some performers, probably the performers that don't deserve to be made.
Right?
Yeah, but it also has it's hurt some performers. I mean, the Dixie Chicks were very talented.
Oh my goodness.
A very talented group of singers, performers, and they had everything going for them. And they were entitled to their opinion. Unfortunately, whether you like their opinion or not, they kept pushing the envelope. They knew what they were getting into after the first pushback, right?
Yeah.
But that'll show you how someone can become derailed quickly. That was a perfect example, right?
That is a perfect example. We were just talking about that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
I was a big Dixie Chicks fan. I
liked their music too.
I thought they were very talented, like you said, very talented. They deserved to be where they were.
No question.
And I said, what was that? What's her lead name? Emily, I think her name. Singer. And I said, if I was her, I just would have kept my mouth shut, because that literally ruined their career. It ruined their career.
No question.
It ruined their career.
Yeah.
And at the wrong. I mean, I agree with you that everybody is entitled to their opinion, but they picked a very unpopular opinion at the time, and they went after somebody.
Sure.
They got into an argument with somebody who was extremely popular at the time. You know what I mean? So it's like, I understand that you believe what you believe, and you are entitled to do that, but you also have to.
But I mean, think about it for a second. You are, listen, you have to balance from a fan. I'm a fan. You have to balance your position as a person of not influence, but a person that people are going to hear,
right,
with what your purpose of career is. And your purpose of career is to entertain,
right,
music. That's why people are paying the money,
right.
See, and if you know that going into the political fray in any capacity on any issue will divide your house in half, divide your fan base in half, why would you go there?
Right. You're entitled to that opinion, but
we all have opinions.
But
you don't have to vote. We all vote, and that's like, I know, you may think like people watching this show may feel I lean a certain way or I don't. Feel anything you want. You really don't know what I'm voting because I'm not going to tell you.
I'm not going to tell you exactly.
Yeah.
The thing that always bothered me was are people who think because they are a big singer or a big actor, or that their opinion is going to influence other people's opinions,
or it has weight.
My political opinions are not going to be made. Okay, a perfect example.
I'm there, man. I
am
get
a huge Robert De Niro fan on screen, right?
Yeah.
I think he's always been one of my favorite actors, right?
Tremendous, one of the greatest American actors ever
of all time, right? But he's lately just been going off the rails with his political rants, right? I'm a huge fan of his work. But everything, he's not going to change the way I feel about anything with these rants that he's doing.
No, and I won't, and I'm not the kind of person that would hold that against him, pro or con. And I wouldn't like him more because of the way he feels. I don't care, and that's where I'm at. So
it hasn't changed anything. I'll still watch him in any movie.
So bands like U2, bands like Bruce Springsteen, they're huge acts. They got more money than Heinz has beans.
Right.
And there's just something about being that powerful that you don't care because you've got enough money and maybe you're okay pissing off half the world.
Right.
In the end, it's forget the political aspect, forget the money component. It's not what you made your money on. You made your money on bringing joy based on musical expression.
Right.
Right? That's what they paid to see.
Right.
If you want to be a commentator on politics, go to CNN, go to Fox, go to MSNBC. Do that as your career.
Right.
Guess what? You're not going to make much money.
Right.
And number two, you're kind of insulting the people that came to pay money to see you to play because they really, they want to hear every word of those iconic songs, but they don't care about being lectured to.
Right.
Sometimes it's not even politics. Like I don't know how old you are. I'm 53. When I was probably in my teens, Bob Dylan came to Pittsburgh one year, and my mom and dad went. And my mom came home halfway through the show. My mom insisted my father take her home halfway through the show because Bob Dylan went religious. So the show was advertised as a certain thing. Bob Dylan playing in the 60s. But Bob Dylan at that time, I think, had some kind of a religious awakening. God bless him.
Right.
But he wouldn't play anything that anyone knew.
Right.
And he was playing songs that were like folk songs of covers.
Sure. Right.
And halfway through, they're like, "Are you kidding me? We
This
didn't
is
know ahead
not-
of time.
right.
We went to see Bob Dylan."
Right.
And I remember that always stuck in my mind. Like, if you're, you made your career on this, you're going out on tour to make money off of your craft and your iconic. Play your music. Keep
right.
your mouth shut.
Right.
That's just me. I can be full of shit, but that's just how I feel.
I struggle with that because
And we all have feelings.
We all
and
have
you, and
right.
listen, you're standing up there with a microphone in front of your face.
Right.
Which listen, I never met an entertainer that didn't think that this was some kind of aphrodisiac because
Sure,
you're
absolutely.
standing there.
Absolutely.
There could be 40, 400, 4,000 people there, and
Right.
you've experienced all that. Right. It's still, they're all looking at you,
Right.
and whatever comes out of your utterance is like going to be heard by everybody.
It's going to be heard by everybody. That's right. Yeah, no, I
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't do you any good. I mean, and country music obviously already has the quote-unquote stigma. I hate to use that word, but they think everybody leans conservative or right because it's just country music.
Because it's country music.
So you
right.
already have like a stigma over top of your head. And rock and roll tends to lean a little left of the rebellious nature. So when the Dixie Chicks did what they did, that was a break to the norm.
It was a break to the norm. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And when you see maybe if there are any, a conservative rock and roller, that's probably a break to the norm. It's okay. You can be who you want to be. But your audience out there, a couple thousand, they don't care.
But see, that's the thing.
They don't need to hear your point.
What you're singing about, like if you're singing, if your songs are political in nature, that's one thing.
If people bought them and enjoyed them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, like the war stuff from Vietnam.
Vietnam, right. That was where my head went. Right. But if you're singing about drinking beer in the back of a truck and doing this and partying, doing all that, nobody's going to want to come to your show and hear your political views. That's just not. It's just not. That's why I keep mine to myself.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. Rock and rollers the same thing.
Yeah.
Rock and rollers, you're talking about girls getting laid and it's some rock show. I mean if that's what your song
drugs and rock and roll,
if that's your genre, stick with it.
Right, exactly.
But just to wrap this up and encapsulate things, so how's life for you now? Good? Everything going good with you?
Everything's going great.
Yeah, man. I mean, the new
I've never been
songs,
happier in my life.
Yeah, well, you're touring. I mean, the amount of shows that you have scheduled is insane. I don't know how you're doing it.
My wife thinks so too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, that's a good sign, then, right?
It is good. It is good. Somebody asked me that the other day, and I thought I'm as busy as I've ever been in my career.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable.
It's
and
great.
I think it's going to get worse actually once this, or better, however you want to say it. But
more busy.
More busy. Yeah. I do. I think.
And it's and we'll have this show up here. I don't
pleased.
usually put dates in the show, but listen, it's going to be June 28th.
June 28th.
Yep. It's called Aluminum Cans.
Aluminum Cans.
And it's by it's Devon Johnson
and Rough Creek.
And written by Frank Vieira.
Yeah.
How cool is that, man?
It's awesome.
So I challenge you to come back and see us. Come back next time with a band member or two, and maybe we'll do some acoustic work.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, that's the next show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very soon. Maybe Aluminum Cans might be on the,
would be the way to go.
Maybe we'll bring Frank back too.
Right. I think Frank should totally be here. Absolutely. Yeah.
This has been really good, buddy.
Yep.
And thank you, and thank for your honesty and you basically didn't hold back, and I appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, I kind of went farther than I thought I would.
No, and it's good, and it was all honest. And look, you've been around this business. You've been in southwestern Pennsylvania performing for people for so long, and your fans have hung in there, and not only hung in there but grown. So you've seen this business evolve, and I think
really
the topics we touched on.
Really have, yeah.
I mean, you have. I hate to use this word because it's just a negative connotation, but you survived and thrived through what is pretty much a seismic change in just society. Social media has brought a crazy change in a short period of time.
I agree.
I
agree, and thank you for saying that.
Yeah, but I appreciate it, and we'll see you soon, right?
All right, yes, sir.
And next time, we'll be playing on the show.
Absolutely.
All right, I appreciate
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, Devon Johnson, Rough Creek.
Thank you very much.
Eric McKenna Project. Thanks, folks. We'll see you soon. There you go.